G'day team, Coach Ray here. I'm a triathlon and cycling coach who specialises in coaching beginner and recreational athletes to achieve their sporting as well as their health and fitness goals. In today's short video, I'm going to take you through the team time trial stage power data for Matthew Hayman. Now Matthew is a 40-year-old Australian cyclist who's been a pro since 2000. He's ridden the Tour de France 3 times previously and done 11 Grand Tours in total. He's currently ranked 958th on the UCI rankings, and his biggest race result to date is winning the Paris-Roubaix in 2016. His role within the team is primarily as a domestique. Now Matthew would have ridden hard to benefit his team, but at some point he dropped off and ended up finishing 3:55 behind his team in the 36k team time trial that was ridden today around Chalet. With teams having 8 riders, the clock stopped for each team as the 4th rider crossed the line. Now Michelton Scott went out fast and were up on all other teams at the first time check, but Sky and BMC were only a second back and Movistar were 2 seconds back. At the end, BMC won the stage, Sky were 4 seconds down, Quick-Step Floors were 7 seconds back, and Michelton Scott were 9 seconds down. And Matthew finished, like I said, 3:55 behind. So when I've highlighted his race here, well, the race started here. He obviously started his bike computer as they sort of approached the start line, so he didn't need to think about that. It's just get on and ride hard. And so for basically the 35, 36Ks, I haven't got it exactly right, obviously. He averaged 347 watts, or a normalized power of 383 watts. He averaged 47 kilometers an hour with a cadence of 93. So all up, pretty good. I'm not actually sure what his FTP is, but I believe it's going to be around the basically around the 385 watt, 390 odd watt mark, because his intensity factor was pretty much 100% for this. And this would be a good representation of someone's functional threshold power, what they can maintain in an activity like this. You'll see his power fluctuated a bit in the center here. If we just get in, you can see some of it drop down on this downhill section. I'll just clear out some of this other data we don't need to sort of see at the moment. Actually, even speed, I'll get rid of speed because that's not. So we're looking at the altitude being the grey, the pink being his power output, and red being heart rate. And heart rate jumped up nice and high initially, and then from about, what's the point there? Yeah, somewhere around that 20k mark, you can see both his heart rate and his power come down. You can see these surges where he put in a big amount of effort off the start line, another effort there, increasing efforts as he punches up these wee climbs, but also fluctuates up and down quite a bit. And you can probably speculate that some of those times he was on the front doing the work, and when it's down low like this, obviously these ones are on downhills, but he's probably recovering as he's tucked in the back and he's not on the front doing the work. But he would have done a fair amount of work on the front in that first half up until just after the 20k, 21k mark, somewhere along this stretch here. And you can see it's noticeably lower. If we just go from there to the start, he's got an average power of 367 or a normalized power of 421. And from that point on to the finish, we'll ignore all those basically zero as he's riding back to the team bus. So the 421's dropped to 329 and his average power is 321. So it's a marked difference. You can say it's a race of two halves for Matthew, and that's definitely the case. Variability index in the second half when he was riding by himself is 1.02, and in the first half when he had the rest of the team there is 1.11. I think all up it was about 112. Yeah, 1.12. An intensity factor of 1.02. that first half there, intensity factor of 1.10. So it was really, he was redlining it, doing the hard work until he was cooked, and then he drifted off the back and finished about 4 minutes behind the rest of his team. Yeah, so that's basically a quick summary of how Matthew delivered his power outputs and the race unfolded for him today. If we look at some of his peak power outputs, if we're working on his FTP of being around that sort of 390-ish, you can see, yeah, he spent over 20 minutes riding above that. So it was a good, solid effort today. So if you enjoyed this video, click up in the top left-hand corner to subscribe, down the bottom right-hand corner to get more videos of pros' power profiles from events and my analysis of them. And in the other two corners, YouTube is going to put up some videos that it believes you'll find interest in based on what you've watched previously.